Hello everybody, welcome back to 2CTV with some breaking news. Anti-government riots in Greece are getting out of control. The political establishment in Athens are responding with the full force using the authorities, the riot police and the security forces. And in this live stream we're going to explain what's actually been going on in Greece and how we are reaching this boiling point and all the events that led to this day. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you guys all the updates. If you're watching this live, let me know what you think in the live chat and in the comment section down below. We have a number of videos, just a heads up, some of them are disturbing. The violent clashes are escalating across Athens, especially outside the parliamentary building. The riot police are not even showing any mercy, where the rioters themselves against the government are being extremely violent as well. This is the 28th of February, which means it's the second anniversary of the infamous train crash that led to these protests. So we're going to explain the backstory. This is the latest image that we have. A huge crowd of, they said it started at around 50,000 people, but it's now gone beyond the 100,000 people who are currently out in Athens. It started with a massive march and a rally, then it obviously led into violent protests. Let me show you the first clip and then we'll explain what's exactly been going on in the country. Let's go. Just a backstory, obviously we had a huge crowd. Most of them were peacefully protesting and marching, second anniversary of the train crash. But obviously you had the far left usually hijacking the whole thing with the violence. So let's give you the backstory. 2 years ago on this day, we had the infamous train crash that fortunately took 57 lives. This train, passenger train carrying mostly students, 350 people on board, obviously crashed into a freight train. And the authorities and the political establishment said that this was a human error. A lot of people in Greece didn't buy that. They said this is beyond a human error and they demanded justice, and this basically was the trigger point in terms of a lot of the anti-government sentiments. With everything that's been going on in Greece over the last few years, this became the boiling point. So this was in 2023, right? 2 years ago on this day. Since then, we've had a number of protests. And in fact, even in recent days and weeks, we've had, in March 2023, we had the actual massive mass protest starting, mostly in Athens. There were some clashes with the police, but then we had to wait until towards the end of January this year, 26th of January 2025, over 50,000 people came out in Athens to continue to demand the government to be honest and transparent with the people. Now, one of the main issues is that the New Democracy is in power, which is the center-right party, right-wing conservative party technically in Greece. So they already had the opposition from the far left in general, but this didn't really help. The way the government obviously responded to this crisis and completely putting a lid on it made everybody else also angry. There are concerned families and wanting more answers and justice, but obviously you also have the political left who want to take advantage of this, hence why this mess that we are dealing with. We're going to explain more, but we have the second clip as well, which we can show you. Just a heads up, this is all getting very disturbing and graphic. For the record, if you just tuned in, the footage is not from the dictatorship of Syria. This is from the civilized democratic society that is Greece, and the left-wing rioters are trying to bring down the government. So, in case you're wondering why this is a bit of a mess, this doesn't happen in democracies. Yeah, it does when you allow the far left to take over and hijack peaceful and legitimized protests. So, this whole thing, obviously, I mentioned the 26th of January. On the 7th of February, which was only a few weeks ago, we did again have thousands of students blocking the Athens traffic in the city centre. Then it continued because they knew today was coming. It was the 28th, second anniversary, everybody knew. So they tried to, all the students, left-wing students, tried to do all these stunts between then and now. Yesterday, we had the state inquiry that was confirmed that the rail safety gap remains unfixed 2 years later. So everybody got angry. So there is a legitimized anger and concern in terms of the way the government have been reacting to basic public safety, and just the whole infrastructure in Greece, economic crisis, left, right, and center, financial mishandling of the budget and political corruption. It's not been an easy the last 10 years or so, as you guys know, in Greece. The massive debt that they had to deal with. On top of that, you have the left-wingers who want to basically take over the government, not democratically, but with violence. So obviously, this happens. So after yesterday, when the so-called inquiry said that, oh yes, we haven't actually fixed anything, today it was expected. Today was always going to happen. Let's go to the next clip. This is very graphic. Again, it's not the first time things like this have happened in Athens. It's a sort of thing you see in Paris. You know, it's kind of regular, but it did obviously create massive political disruptions. Last time we saw these sort of things in Greece, about 10, 12 years ago, we had massive crises where democratic governments were falling apart, left, right, and center. Even the left-wingers, when they managed to get their socialists in power, they did a bit of a whoopsie economically with the budget. And they had to go and resign as well. So all these students who are currently doing this today, the left-wing students, rioters, they were babies back then, and then now they were probably like 10 years old back then, and now they're doing the same thing. So they're trying to bring the left-wing Antifa style solution, a revolutionary solution, which again, all the other people who are concerned about the actual scandal itself, all these families. I'm going to show you some of the actual footage from the actual main protest, the main march and rally. That's absolutely fine. You have concerns. The government should respond. Democratic protest. Greece, the home of democracy. But obviously the far left, they want to do what the far left do as usual. I believe we have the next clip ready. This is just showing the level of crowd. Mostly, in the name of the BBC, actually mostly peaceful by the majority, and then everybody else kicked off. Watch this. That is a huge crowd, by the way, outside Parliament, and it will be interesting to see, considering as I said, the inquiry yesterday basically admitted that the government haven't actually done much to fix all these problems when it comes to public safety and infrastructure. What can they do tomorrow? Because today's massive protest, which has now led to riots, if the government and the actual riots are going to be undermining the protests, as you can imagine, the media in Greece and the governments are just going to point out saying everybody rioted, so we're not going to listen to any of the concerns. But if they had listened to at this point over 100,000 people who are out protesting, then they should be absolutely terrified. Even New Democracy as a party, they should be terrified, because not everybody over there were far left. Now, there were obviously the far left activists who want to be agitators. That's the whole different thing. But there are concerns, legitimate concerns from the public. Let's go to some of the more, again, unfortunately, violent footage that we have from these riots today. It would be great if people stop filming these sort of things on portrait mode. Just do horizontal. It will be much easier. I do not like vertical footage. You can hardly see them. So it's not my fault. Unfortunately, people on the ground are doing this. It's always the age of TikTok and Instagram. Everyone has to film this on a portrait mode. Anyway, so we know, as I said, that the media and the political side will be using the riots to basically ignore the concerns of the main protests. The Antifa far left style groups are not really helping this, but they don't really care. They don't actually want any solution. We already know that. They don't really want to help all those concerned people who are actually protesting and marching. They don't want a solution for them. They simply want to use this to bring down democracy. That's always been the case. We've had this in France, we've had this in Greece, in these sort of places, we always have this. Anyway, let me show you the next clip as well, and then we're going to get some reaction from you guys. There's a lot more clips, by the way, that's still coming in through. Let's go to the next one. They could have prevented this, by the way. But as I said, not only the issue of the government and media will be using the riots to basically ignore the actual concerns of the protest, because they know it doesn't work. The governments in Europe love this sort of stuff. And even in Canada, in these sort of places, in Australia, they love it. They love disruptions because the actual riots never actually solve anything, as you guys know, because of the way the European establishments work, generally speaking. So nothing will actually be solved. There's a problem. You want a solution. When do you do the riots? There's a bit of chaos. Some people get excited. Ooh, we're bringing down the government. They will do the crackdown. The riots will end. Some people go to jail, and the actual problem will not be resolved. On the other hand, doing it through the democratic process sometimes also becomes frustrating, because a lot of people would say, for example, in Greece, you got center-right parties and center-left parties, apart from the actual far-left idiots, the communists. If they're not addressing the problem, people get angry. Like, well, why is there no political party speaking about what I'm concerned about? We have the same problem in the UK. Until recently, none of the parties were talking about the grooming gangs. And now, obviously, Reform UK are talking about it. Now, even the Tories, now that they're out of government, they're talking about it. It's people get frustrated. So you can understand when normal people get angry and fight back. Doesn't actually achieve anything, but they get emotional. But the actual far left who do these riots, who take over, the governments love them. The establishments love them. These are the puppets, basically, that they are pawns that are being used to cause a disruption, so that the government could say, look, they're all basically thugs and hooligans. We don't have to listen to them. They're all criminals. They're all radicals. That's what they do every single time. That's why it's never achieved anything. Look at France. All the riots in France didn't achieve anything. All the riots in Greece didn't achieve anything. We get, as I said, we get some reaction from you guys, but I can see Michael Bailey in the live chat saying that they bring order out of chaos. Exactly, chaos will always help them. It's not really anything new anyway, and that's why sometimes, at times, some of the states and governments have actually used before, not necessarily this one, fake rioters to cause trouble, so that they could basically create mayhem, so they could bring in more authoritarian measures in the name of public safety and national security. It's happened many times in the past by authoritarian governments. Let's go to the next clip. So some of the chants that we have been hearing in this whole mess have been about, obviously, accountability. They're calling the governments basically killers, student killers, because of it's a government of murderers, they call them, and some of the slogans is because of the last few words of some of the victims who lost their lives. I have no oxygen, for example. Then obviously the far left have been chanting, they put their profits obviously above lives, saying profits versus lives. That's just the communist side doing their own thing. That there are normal people, by the way, who are concerned and angry because of the way the government handled this whole thing. But obviously you're always going to get some revolutionary left-wing slogans and chants in the middle of all this mess, which is not a surprise. Let's go to the next clip. They're all vertical. Stop vertical filming. It's so annoying. By the way, over the last few rounds of these sort of protests and riots, many dozens initially of the rioters were arrested. The initial round of those who were arrested were already charged. Some of them went to jail anyway, but it seems like, well, I mean, the police in Athens, they don't mess about, as it goes now, and the justice system as well. But these protests always get wild in Greece, same in France. You know, culturally, they are very fiery. You don't mess with them, obviously. But the far left people, obviously, a lot of them were arrested, which, by the way, resulted in last year when you had the anniversary. Then the left wingers were protesting after their friends were arrested, charged, and jailed. So then they were rioting because of that, which is not really a surprise. But again, the concerns of normal people should be heard, and so far, that's not really the case. We'll get some reaction. This is the final clip I have for you guys so far. This actually shows the normal people who were just protesting. By the way, I love how I said normal people, but you still have some communist flags in there. You're always gonna get communists in the middle of all this, which is again kind of interesting considering the history of Greece, the lovely culture of Greece. They still have a problem with commies. The commie problem is still there. It's so annoying, especially after what happened 10 years ago, 15, 12 years ago. Anyway, some people never learn. Let's get some reaction from you guys. Super chat from Daylight, thank you very much, saying Tom McDonald, Man in the Sky, uplifting, full tattooed Christian musician, I recommend. I love how you had to describe who Tom McDonald is. Full tattooed Christian. Yes, obviously Tom McDonald's new song is out. He also released the other one. There were 2 songs they released in recent days. Go check him out, guys. Tom McDonald. Thanks, Daylight. And there's another super chat. Heather Scott says, a message gets lost in violence and not enough education for meaningful change. World is on fire, it seems. That's the best way to assess the situation. Well done, Heather Scott. Leonardo says, if you're wearing all black with your face and head covered, you're a criminal. Well, you definitely have something to hide. So you're definitely planning to do something weird. That's why they end up doing this. Especially, obviously, if you're carrying red flags. Well, we know what the red flag represents. Karl Marx would be proud. Chris says the riots are intended to distract from the reasons for the protests and delegitimize them. Yeah, as I said, that's basically what's happening. Whether it was directly intended or not, the governments will be using that, saying, oh, thank God the far left are out causing chaos. We could basically just ignore the actual issue and just say it was violence. Wow. Every single time. Ooh, what's this? You see, white supremacists don't like to be peacefully subjected to Islam. That's nothing to do with Islam. Also, are the Greeks now white supremacists? It's very out of context. Anyway, Mark says, all this because of a train crash. How does that help the situation? I mean, it goes beyond that. I mean, the issue is about the handling of the scandal. And the scandal after the main scandal is the main reason that's going on. MK is part of it. We have someone in the live chat who is currently inside the system. He has access to all the sensitive documents. And he knows, he's right there in the meeting rooms. We actually have him in the live chat, ladies and gentlemen. A very important person who has all the evidence right now. MK says, you have no idea, 2C. They are not far left. They are undercover cops. Thank you so much, MK, for joining us during the live stream. And as someone who has access to confidential information, definitely not guessing from your mom's basement while eating Cheetos. But yes, thank you so much for giving us all the evidence that you have, that the far left doesn't exist. It's an imaginary thing. Antifa doesn't exist. The communists don't exist. And all those communists who have been arrested and been sent to prison, they're all basically non-existent. Give us more information. I really appreciate you for joining us, obviously, with your foolproof documents that you have now provided. All right, let's go back to some normal people. Stu, thank you very much for your super chats. Saying, Oi, Starmer, that's rioting. Let the Brits, that's a good point. You want to see riots? Look at the Greeks and look at the French. That's how they riot. Keir Starmer. All right. What else do we have? Yeah, the undercover cops theory is BS. It's those who don't understand Greece. They've never actually done any research into Greek politics and what's been going on for the past 15, 20 years in Greece. Anyway, I did see someone actually from Greece in the live chats. Don't know where that person's gone. It'll be good to get your reaction on what you think and what's actually been going on. Yeah, by the way, the protests are still going on, so they're still not really giving up. To be fair, it's only what is it now? 5:40 p.m. Greek time. So I think is it 1 hour ahead? I think it's 1 hour ahead from the UK. All right. Happy Warrior says this side of Europe wants out of the EU. Which side is that? I mean, there is a Union flag in there. That means UK. All right. DDRC says, I am beyond anger now. In fact, I begin to blame the Brits for keep going along and helping pay for this. At least effing try push back. I'm pretty sure that Brits are not responsible for what's going on in Greece, by the way. We can't blame them, but it's not always the Brits' fault. Yeah, that just as a reminder, Judy is right. Most Greeks don't support Antifa and anarchists and do protest peacefully. As we said, I don't want to sound like the BBC, but you just saw we got 100,000 people out there. The majority were actually fine. But you have the Antifa light commies going around causing chaos as usual. Robert is also correct. Antifa are a bunch of girly soy boys. What about the female Antifa? What are they? Actually, I've seen some female Antifa. They're ironically they're the other way around. They're like butch. They're very butch. All the lesbians are Antifa, right? Lesbian lives matter. Reggie Jackson says, I used to be part of the far left. Oh, no, that guy said far left doesn't exist. So that means you used to be undercover cop. I used to be part of the far left years ago, and no, they are not cops. That's exactly what a cop would say, right? Police infiltrate any fringe group, including the far left and far right groups, absolutely. But most of the people in these groups are sincere. By the way, sincere doesn't mean good. They mean it, but doesn't always mean they are right. I hope you say you used to be part of it, so hopefully you're not far left anymore. But all right, anti-FIFA. I am definitely anti-FIFA. Not the video game. I still love it, FC, but the actual FIFA organization. All right, what else do we have from you guys? The EU Commission pulling the strings. Well, the EU Commission and the Germans, which sometimes is the same thing at this point, but yeah. Peace of the World says, this is how it is. This is how it is. When governments ignored the issue, the people are out on the streets. Yep. But the problem is the same approach from both the French government and the Greek government. And actually the Spanish government. You could say the same about the Spanish government. And at this point, it's not really about left or right, because the Spanish government are left-wing. The Greek government are technically right-wing. The French government are liberal. And all three, specifically, because we've had riots and protests in all three countries over the last few years, quite a few times. I mean, in France, it's usually every Tuesday anyway. They tend to completely ignore it because they don't achieve anything. So you're just weaponizing it. So they use it. The media in those countries and the government would say, let's just basically call everybody criminals. But obviously, if someone commits a crime, that's a crime. But they don't actually address the real problem. So they just continue. They love riots. The riots really help the states and governments. As I said, that's why they've been infiltrating at times. In the past, we've had so many examples of basically the deep state causing more chaos. The Saxon says, Oi, my 2C, where is my membership star suddenly gone? A second time it just disappeared. I don't know. I'm not responsible for what YouTube does. Did you change your profile picture or your username? Because it does change it, or something changed. Maybe your bank details change. I'm not responsible for what happens on YouTube. We're not in charge of the YouTube memberships. We don't promote YouTube memberships. We have our own 2C TV Plus membership on 2C.tv, which, by the way, that's a good reminder. You can now get 10% off discount of annual memberships on 2CTV Plus, not YouTube memberships, 2CTV Plus. Using the promo code DOC10, you get 10% off by going on 2C.tv. That's the best way you can do it. If you want to get something out of it, obviously join 2CTV Plus. So YouTube membership doesn't get you anything. It's just obviously for you guys to support the channel. But if you want to get access to all the documentaries and the premium shows and the chat forum, talk to other people, like-minded people, and some trolls. Actually, there are no trolls there anymore. Go on 2C.tv and become a member of 2CTV Plus. That was a good segue. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We're going to take a break and come back and tell you what is going on with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Yes, we're going to have to go back to the Middle East. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.